The Center for Innovation and Technology is offering you a golden opportunity to speak directly to your market at an affordable price. We also offer media training workshops, live streaming, documentary production, and events management. Get in touch with us today on the following numbers: +263 867 711 0290 or 0718 100 235. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media platforms. Like our Facebook page, Center for Innovation and Technology. Follow us on Twitter @SiteZW. And you can also check out our website, www.site.org.zw.
Hello and welcome. This is the Breakfast Club. My name is Zenzele and Ndebele, and welcome to the show. The Center for Innovation and Technology is an organization that promotes dialogue, that promotes the use of technology to talk about the different things. And this past week we had an opportunity to attend a national indaba on forced disappearances.
We're all potential abductees and disappearees wherever you work. Trust me. I've done a bit of work trying to trace enforced disappearances from as way back as 1896. And you would be surprised that people were working in the office of the colonial prime ministers would be disappeared. So this is how close this is to all of us. I wanted to say something though. For those who don't quite know much about the history of disappearances, I'll just say this in a minute or two. Enforced disappearances essentially started in 1941. Yeah, in what was called the Nacht und Nebel. This was a strategy by Adolf Hitler. And the idea for him, his argument was, for all people who were resisting Nazism, if you just kill this person or detain him, that's a sign of weakness. But what you do is you capture them during the course of the day or at night. But you don't do this without witnesses. There has to be 1 or 2 witnesses, so that the witnesses are traumatized. The families of the victims are traumatized, yeah? And you want to talk about closure. I don't know where that closure will ever come from. Because what happens with victims and survivors is that you can't speak to Justina and Coco about, you've got a meeting with them and say, no, I'm sorry, I'm delayed because I've been hijacked. You're like, hijacked? What are you talking about? Yeah? There's something that Sheffield Zamana told us. She said, no, once or twice in a week I polish my husband's shoes. Because Itai does not want to see his shoes unpolished. Imagine, guys, this is 4 years later. Yeah? You know, something like this. So these are some of the challenges. It's difficult to think of closure. So what I'm trying to say is we need to go beyond just the conversations. You look at the laws that we have. The Missing Persons Act, this is nothing more than just administration of estates of missing persons. We need an Enforced Disappearances Act in this country. We need the country to ratify the convention, and we need to criminalize enforced disappearances. That's my contribution.
Honorable Cuthbert Mpane, Portfolio Committee for Justice. Honorable Mpane.
We have to look at the history of Zimbabwe and ask yourselves, when did we first have serious conflict in this country? I want to talk about it. We can always talk, if we go back to history, he spoke of 1896. I could go beyond that. But then the persons involved, so that 100 years ago, are no longer around. So we need to talk about the present. And speak of the present, we probably start off with the War of Liberation. You think of Dr. Edson Stolle and his secretary. You speak of Mount Selinda when children are taken to Mozambique. You speak of Wanezi. My sister was at Wanezi. When that school was closed, the children were taken to Botswana on their way to Zambia. You speak of the war itself. We all have relatives who were involved in the liberation struggle who did come back from Zambia, Tanzania, Mozambique. We speak of braves scattered around the country. But what needs, in my view, is for us to accept reality. The Gukura Undi is very topical and emotive. I think the then two major parties, PF ZAPU and ZANU-PF, attempted to bring closure to that issue. But from the children's performances, you can tell that there hasn't been any closure. Maybe because nobody was prepared to talk about it. But because we're in this room today and talking about it freely and openly, it means we can move forward as a nation. Yesterday the president was here in Ndebele. He said that for too long buried our heads in the sand, and now is the time to talk about it, and talk about it openly, without fear. So let's talk about it without fear. We have a creature of our constitution, the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission. Its life has since been extended by the High Court to 2028. Is that Commissioner? So for another 10 or so years, let that commission do its work. Let's use all available platforms to talk about it. Let's not confine it to Ndebele. Speak to the other tribes about it. Let us depoliticize Gukura. You see a situation whereby a political party is mushroomed, and the first thing they happen and continue harping on is Gukura Undi. You won't bring closure to that. Let's use the laws available. We are in a reform period. It's a new government which is willing to listen, to talk about it, but most importantly, there must be closure to Gukura Undi.
I have just a few points to consider in terms of our strategy going forward. I think firstly, we need to define the conditions within which we understand closure. I think there is a lot of talk, but it has to be defined within certain conditions. Obviously, you can't talk of closure where truth is suppressed, or people cannot come out, or it's concealed deliberately. You can't talk of closure when there is no acknowledgement. You can't talk of closure when there is no justice. I think those key imperatives must come out clearly. And one other thing, building up to what Dr. Tsotse said around the reform agenda of enforced disappearances. Obviously, the Missing Persons Act is nowhere close to what we are talking about. I think international standards have been developed, and as a nation, we need to rally behind that, tapping into those best practices. What does it mean being guided by the convention that protects people from enforced disappearances? From what we have heard, the play and the stories that have been told over and over again, I think we also need to interrogate and reflect on whether we can actually come to a conclusion to say that enforced disappearances, can they be qualified as crimes against humanity? Because I think there is a systematic pattern, there is systemic, I think those who are learned can help me between those two different terms, systematic and systemic, which I believe they also go hand in hand. Is it widespread? If we conclude to that, then I think our campaigns should also be elevated to that level where we are saying these are indeed crimes against humanity, and what strategies can we take in our lobby going forward. And of course, in terms of the commemorations, I think there are a lot of lessons we can learn from across the globe. I was talking to Dr. Tsodzo about one other commemoration I saw about the Tamil tiger around their advocacy against enforced disappearances. I think for us there is a lot of talk, but we are not putting humanity to it. We talk about enforced disappearances, but nobody knows the extent and the veracity. Perhaps our conversation should be elevated to that, where we put human faces or humanity to our dialogue around this. And of course, the issue of accountability. Yeah, the issue of accountability should then overly be the overarching aspect of it.
Forced disappearances, esteemed delegates, are not a figment of an imagination. They are strategies to shadow the powers from challenge. Because people who disappear are challenging the state or the groups. Whereas we should understand that forced disappearances are done by those in power. They might be using the actual forces, the government statutory forces, or their proxy elements. For instance, political parties may be part of the government, and they may be used like Chipangano in Iran for forced displacement. They have been used in Guatemala. They have been used in Mexico. They have been used in Pakistan. What needs to be done? What needs to be done is to hold the government accountable by legal instruments that are existing. If they are not, we then challenge that. We want laws that will protect these people, and then the truth to come out. We cannot heal without truth, without justice.
I think we need to attend to the dead in order to heal the living. And that implies maybe identifying the graves, identifying the bodies. The doctor there spoke about the need to actually, produce a body, produce remains, so that at the end of the day, people are saying he's dead. It's not about mourning, the living, if you like. So that implies maybe having to undertake processes like exhumations, for example, and reburials that are going to facilitate processes that are going to enable communities to do what they're supposed to do if someone is passed on. Number two, we are then supposed to attend to the national identification of individuals. Let's have death certificates, for those that have gone missing and identified as dead.
That are properly written in
yes.
cause of death.
I'm not going to, you have just said it. And then the next thing is, on the identification, we also need to provide, the surviving young ones with identity documents, birth certificates, IDs. I think you are the one who spoke about interviewing people in Ward 9 in Cholocho. Hopefully you'll find a good lot. I'm just making an assumption that maybe do have those documents. And that will imply not going to school, not being able to be employed, blah, blah, blah. And those people have to be given those things so that they're able to move on. And then lastly, I'll talk about the need to deliberately, underline deliberately, empower these people, ensure that they get opportunities to be employed. Whenever job opportunities arise, let's have a quota where I want to be deliberately, so that at least they're empowered, because in the processes of their loss, they may have lost opportunities of going to school or being trained, blah, 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 I think.
Special story from Zimbabwe. We've got tangible evidence of missing persons. We have got our record of the war dead, which were confiscated by the government of today. And up to now, we have not reported back all those that we lost during the war. So, as we have commissioners here, please take up this issue with the government. We still request, because the relatives and us still want to report back. A simple donkey in our culture, if it dies, you know, we put together all the remains and put them in a nice place. We have a situation that we have. And I think this is going to be the way forward to take over even from where we are talking about Gugurawuli and some other issue.
If I'm a perpetrator, do I agree that I've killed? Number one. Number two, the survivors. Right. We have to go to the survivors, ask them, what can we do? What are you saying? What is your opinion? Lastly, we have to enforce that the sting of fear must be disappeared. Then people will be free to talk.
We need a strategy on all this. In fact, we need a strategy on all this. What needs to be done? The president must go out openly on national platforms where as a government they need to talk about the ground freely and fair and no arrest. The other point that I want to make, Ikukurawundi must be a standalone issue. Don't mix it with any other things, because that's pure genocide. The other point that we need to do, let's have one voice talking about Ikukurawundi. Not everywhere. We cannot achieve. Remember, we're fighting the giants. We need some compensation. Because Ndebele, honestly, I will speak for my Ndebele and Midlands, where Ikukurawundi was a terror in the area. 10 years after independence, 1980, some people got independence. But ourselves, we moved up to around 1990. Even after the unit code, people were still disappearing. People were still killed. And over and above that, such locals in the so, what is independence? Universities. We never got that chance. You remember, I'll talk of myself now. Me, I'm a victim of Ikukurawundi. Now come about around 20 Ks from my home in Matopo to SKs, almost every Sunday to meetings at the Ikukurawundi. I still know Ikukurawundi. I will be socially in the Wapangwani in operating. And last point,
I'm touched by the Ikukurawundi thing. Severely affected. My family severely affected, my relatives and others. There's quite a lot of talk about Ikukurawundi. And now there is an NPRC that is supposed to look into that. May I suggest one thing, please? Let there be created a special commission to look into the Ikukurawundi issue. And that commission, whatever name is given, but it should have the truth. The commission will go and seek the truth about what exactly happened, why it happened. That truth and reconciliation commission will come up with the true facts of the matter, and then it will be addressed. There is something that worries me a lot again. People tend to talk about the closure. Closure of what? What is to be closed? Let me tell you one thing. This country has created a historical mark. the Kukuraundi. It is the Kukuraundi Holocaust. The Israelis, the Jews, will always talk about the German Holocaust. No matter what talks were there to sort of reconcile. That remains a historical mark. Kukuraundi remains a historical mark in this country. Nothing shall be closed, please. It will remain as known as a Kukuraundi Holocaust. So my point is, let there be a special commission to look into that, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, to address the issues of the Kukuraundi.
As a matter of introduction, my name is Charles Masunungure. I am a pastor and a commissioner in the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission. By origin, I am endowed from Chipinge, and I think in terms of understanding a few Ndebele words, I do, because I'm sure those who know history will understand that in Chipinge, the Ndau language has so many Ndebele insinuations in them. In the commission, I am responsible for complaints handling and investigations. I chair that committee, but as you will see shortly in the short presentation, the commission has committees and departments. So committees are led by commissioners, and units are led by members of the Secretariat. But allow me to say, we were here last year in the month of February at the Brethren Christ Church, and there were some demonstrations by members of our society, especially on the basis of the fact that the commission was not well constituted by people from the region. However, I'm sure you all agree that we have a term of office, which is a 5-year term of office, within which we should do what we took oath to do, which is to abide by the provisions of the Constitution, as well as the NPRC Act, which only became law last year in January. And I'm sure those who follow the press have heard about the court case in which the Commission, as an institution, was supposed to run from January 2018 to 2028. So allow me to, with acknowledgement to the sentiments that have been raised before, to say there is a need for a commission that deals with the issues that relate to Kukuraundi, and that is not in our purview to decide. However, if you look at the Constitution, we will do what we believe is supposed to be done by us in terms of the provisions in the Constitution. If the nation or the laws that will come in future will create a commission such as it has been described even by my fellow commissioner from the Human Rights Commission, that is not ours as the NPRC to decide or to hinder, because we are just doing what we were mandated to do. The NPRC did some consultations in Ndebele South, in Blawayo, as well as in Ndebele North, and the other 7 provinces of the country, and did several rounds of interactions with different stakeholders as a way to kind of get a guide of the direction of what people would want the Commission to do in the next 5 years. And therefore, on the 18th of October last year, we launched our 5-year strategic plan, which has 4 goals. We saw that the 10 functions in Section 252 were so many that if we were going to say we want to do everything, we were not going to be able to do so, because you know that everything is driven by resources. I have heard people say the NPRC is toothless, the NPRC is nowhere to be found, the NPRC is not doing what it's supposed to do. But you agree with me that in as much as the NPRC would want to do what it is supposed to do, everything borders around the resourcing of that commission. And just for your information, and this is a fact and this is a truth, we were sworn in on the 24th of February 2016, and today we are in the 4th year. But all of us, we are using our own private vehicles that we bought in our own families before we became commissioners. And you tell me of any institution of government or any commission in this world which is expected to fulfill its constitutional mandate, but without the resources that are required. So as you critique the commission, take note that the commission cannot do certain things without certain resources. And therefore, I really want to indulge us to, first of all, allow the commission to do what it is supposed to do, and then judge it by what it has done. Zimbabwe, admittedly, has had a very violent past. And I'm sure the previous speakers have alluded to different epochs. Some have gone as far back as pre-independence. But the issue is this, brothers and sisters. The life is a certain way of providing opportunities. And one such opportunity for Zimbabwe to experience healing and reconciliation is now. We may not have all the ducks in a row. We may not have the right institution according to others. But I will tell you something. If the institution that is there, the NPRC, is allowed to do what the Constitution says it must do, you will discover that it may not do 100%, but it will definitely do something. So that's why we say it is now or never. Because, you know, I've heard speakers speaking of victims and survivors passing on because of time. The longer we take without engaging the real people that are in the communities, as we await the ideal institution, the more likely we are to come to find a place where there are now secondary victims, like the ones that were doing their drama. As you could see in their ages, they were not part of what happened in the 80s because they were not there. The longer we take and the more we procrastinate about this issue and the more we wait for the ideal institution, the more likely we are going to find a community without the actual people who experience the Ukrawuni. So this is why we are saying now or never. And the NPRC, in terms of the Constitution, it is an independent institution. And that is section 232, 237, which describes all such institutions. And I want to implore us to say, let us judge the NPRC by the work that it has done, and not by the work that it has not yet done. And so we sat down and we said, let us look at the 4 areas that we can concentrate on in the next 4 years. And we realized that the past is one such area where we needed to provide a space for people to talk about the past, truth-telling, as people were raising. All these issues, as you can see there, we are targeting in the first go an inclusive healing and reconciliation process for addressing legacies of violent conflicts. And in that, we expect a number of outputs. We expect assistance rendered to persons affected by violent conflicts. And we also expect an operational strategy that addresses gender issues specifically. And I want to appreciate the doctor who did a presentation here. And also, we were looking at the program of national cohesion building developed and implemented in that particular period. So what are the priorities? We want people to know what the NPRC is. I saw even reputable and respectable people here failing even to say NPRC. because I think the acronym or the letters are not very common, or maybe it's not a very nice organization to remember. But let me say, it is important that the NPRC will go out. We are doing that in the month of April 2018 to go throughout all the provinces to do an outreach for people to be aware of what the NPRC is. And then I have heard people talking about the NPRC not being a truth commission or not being a commission that can deal with the truth. But if you look at section 252C, it says that the NPRC is supposed to encourage people to tell the truth about the past and to facilitate the making of amends and the provision of justice. And in my view, that section covers truth-telling. And documentation of the country's history, you discover that even about Kukurahundi itself, there are so many narratives. And the retired Colonel, he will agree with me that there are so many versions, even from those who served in the military and those who were civilians. And then you see the last thing there is, we are talking about setting up an operationalization of victim support mechanism. I know, and I agree with you, our respectable Chief Matema, we have spent so much time in hotels, and without talking to the real people, we have spoken to representatives, and let me say quote-unquote representatives of the victims. It is my view, as the NPRC, we want to set up and operationalize the NPRC victim support mechanism. And this complies with section 10, subsection 13 of the NPRC Act, which says the Commission shall guarantee the safety of every witness that appears before it to give evidence or to be held in a public hearing. And I've heard people say, no, we are not safe when we come to the NPRC, but I have not heard anybody that came to the NPRC and thereafter became a victim or was victimized, which means, as far as we are concerned, we have done enough legwork and enough engagement with everybody concerned to say we do not expect anybody to be harassed for coming to the NPRC. And already people are preempting to say, no, we are not safe going to the NPRC. But we have done outreaches where we gather people in all the provinces, and we have never had anyone who has followed after that for coming to the NPRC. So my point is that the NPRC has a strategy to provide a victim support mechanism. So the first goal is about the past. But the second goal is an acknowledgement of the fact that we need policies and legislation that prohibit the nation from going back or drifting back to that violent past. So we are looking at reviewing and analyzing policies and legislation enabling or undermining peaceful coexistence. And this is why Parliament is very important. And Parliament is a representative of the whole country. And so we are looking at, I heard someone saying, and I think that was Dr. Tsozo, was it, who was talking about issues of legislation. Legislation is important because it then guides what must be done. If we feel that there is a certain area that remains unlegislated, for example, someone was talking about the Missing Persons Act not being adequate. This is the area, function 252J of the Constitution actually says the Commission must recommend legislation that protects and makes sure that those people who are affected by conflict are taken care of, and that there is a prevention for the thing not to recur. So you will discover that in the second goal, we are looking at what laws we have in the country, what policies are there, and then we make recommendations to Parliament. Remember, the NPRC reports to Parliament. That is what the Constitution says. We report to Parliament annually or any other time when any parliamentary portfolio committee feels that we must come and report. And the third goal is about prevention. We realize that there is the past, and there is the issue of policies and legislation, but there is also the issue of preventing that which happened not to happen. So we want to create an architecture. Thus you will discover that we want to look at how do we detect that
an early detection mechanism to say conflict is about to happen in a violent way? What are the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that are resident in communities? Our traditional leaders have always been resolving disputes. How can we harvest or harness that particular environment or ride on it? So we have, 2 minutes, that's a lot. So we are going to go, as you can see, national, provincial, district peace structures and platforms for early warning and early response thematic committees. We believe that as the NPRC, we should engage people at different levels and bring them on board through what we call thematic committees and peace committees. And these are all inclusive committees, and they are transparent in their dealings, and they will make recommendations to the commission as it does its work. The last goal, of course, is the issue of the setting up of the commission, the recruitment of staff, the resourcing of the commission. And this is where we are right now. As we advertised sometime last year in December, and we are in the process of recruiting the secretariat staff to add to the 9 commissioners that are there. And without that, those people, it's not possible for you to go anywhere and do anything. So, but you notice that we have done all these, the guidelines, the regulations, the procedures. We have done a lot of material to guide ourselves in the work that we do. And these are the committees of the commission, thematic committees, the healing and reconciliation, victim support, gender and diversity, research and knowledge management, prevention and repairs. These committees shall be constituted by a commissioner and many others, up to 30 people from everywhere in the country. And then these are internal committees. The committee that I chair is the first one there, and then there are the other 2. And then of course, we have departments that are mirroring the committees, so that whatever comes from the committees is processed through the departments of the commission.
I hope this program was very informative, and you can also bring some of these people that you know that disappeared, and you have information that you want to share with us. You're free to get in touch with us on our social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter. The organization is the Center for Innovation and Technology, or site ZW. My name is Zenzele Ndebele. Till we meet again tomorrow, have a good day.